All right, ladies and gentlemen, amigos y amigas, another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show is about to start. Get your popcorn ready. Get your pulparindos, mazapanes. I just went to Walmart and got a bunch of those. So get whatever you like, you snack on while you watch. We'll give you some time. We're about to start. Have a great show for you guys today. So thank you for joining us. And let's go and get started. Welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm Wisa from Food Mex Nation. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to Mexican football, Mexican soccer, and today I'm wearing my awesome Mexican Soccer Show.
Nobody told me to wear mine, man. I should.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of a given. We just got them.
Yeah, I'll wear it next week.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll tell you later on how you can get one of these. And it's not as hard as you think. People were like, "Oh, you gotta, ship it, and we're selling them." We're not selling them. It's only one way you can get them, and I think over 50 people, already received it or so. No, more like 30. Jason knows, but anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Today we have a great show for you guys. We'll be talking all about Mexican national team Chivas getting to a final, El Tri. Liga MX, Mexicans abroad. It's going to be a full show, and it's going to go by real fast. I'm sure we're going to miss out on some of the topics, but let's go ahead and start it with a big question and say hi to our panelists, our experts. Big question for today was, Rafa bid farewell this past weekend in his last home match for Atlas. What's one word you would use to describe his club career? And we'll go with Mr. Cesar Hernandez in the San Diego, Tijuana area. Cesar, how are you?
Doing well. I'm glad I wasn't too late. You and Adriana were on time. I showed up about 4 minutes ago. I don't remember because I was trying to sneak in a snack before recording the podcast. So I'm glad that I'm here live. I'm glad that I'm all right and that I'm settled for the pod. But yeah, I think the one word I would use is iconic. I mean, that was just the first word that came to mind. I mean, just what he's done with Monaco, what he did with Leon, and of course the big team that he won a lot of titles with, what he did with Barcelona. So, I mean, without even talking about what he's done for El Tri for quite some time, I think that even just on the club career alone, I think it's been quite iconic for Rafa.
Iconic. Perfect. Yeah, I definitely agree with that word. If not the best, we'll talk a little bit about it. Best Mexican player for Mexico, some say. We'll go with Adriana. Adriana Teresa is also joining us from ESPN in Mexico. Adriana, who we were talking about vacationing, who was in LA and maybe we're sharing too much private. Adriana, how are you? We share where I'm going, Luiso. This is private stuff.
I'm good, guys. I'm glad I just made it back for a crazy Liga MX weekend. It's just about to get crazier probably this week with the final regular season matches coming up. If I had to describe Rafa Marquez's club career in one word, it'd probably be an example. I think he's the standard to what Mexican players should live up to. It's what they should set their standards up to now. And I think it's just what everyone, all the young players should aspire to in the future. So I think it's a good example of what the Mexican players should do in the future.
So the word is example?
Yeah.
Okay. The word is example. Yeah. Taking that time, I think, leadership in 2002 in what we're doing. All right, let's see. On the we obviously give these questions on Twitter. We have legendary Kaiser, no era penal, of course, winner.
It's not technically 3 words.
Yeah, it's a one word if it's a hashtag. So okay. I mean, I think that's what Gordinho said. Winner. Juanio Triguillo said chingon. Well, I'll say that. Let's see what else. Leyenda, Kaiser, and Mundial says uncle. All right. I guess it goes in there. But as far as we continue with the Rafa Marquez chat, he's not going away. I feel like we're going to be talking about Rafa Marquez continuing his if it's with El Tri, and I think we're going to be continuing if he's going to go into coaching or in that sense. It was an amazing sight to see that huge tifo from the Atlas fans, right? And when he's staring at it, whoever took that picture is magnificent. I shared it. I definitely saved it into my phone because I definitely want to have that. But Rafa Marquez, our friend Mexico World Cup, as Tom Marshall, right? He reported that he's been given also the green light to play in the 5th World Cup, guys. Osorio did say if he's in good shape, he's going to take him. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I personally
And
would.
if he's in bad, yeah.
Is he in bad shape?
And I don't think he's in his best shape. I just think that whatever he can bring to the team outside the field is more valuable than what he can give inside the field, maybe. But he's still going to go. Either way, I'm pretty sure he's going to go. But I just don't think we can count on him for being like the full 90 minutes. But whatever he can bring will be really valuable inside the pitch and offside the pitch. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally wouldn't bring, if it was my decision, I wouldn't bring Rafa. But at the same time, I mean, just knowing what he's done and what he really means to the national team, what he means to a lot of these players, I'm not going to be bothered by it. I think with a couple other questionable names that if they were included into the national team roster, I think I might be a little bit angry. But I mean, with Rafa, once again, I personally wouldn't select him as a member of the 23-man roster. But if Osorio's going to do it, I'm not going to be too bothered by it.
Yeah, he's a lot of people were saying, including myself, Rafa should have been there for that Chile loss. Our captain, and the way that the team just fell apart, there was nobody to come up and take the team by its back. And we've seen what Rafa can do, the respect that he has for the guys have towards him. So, I guess it'll just depend if there's somebody that gets to not go because of Rafa, right? Especially in the defensive end, and looking at that would be kind of get me a little worried, where you're not going to bring a player just for leadership. That should, if Osorio needs to bring a player for leadership, doesn't that say something about Osorio that he's lacking something there?
I think Rafa exceeds that. I think it's just once again what he represents for the national team, what he's going to be able to provide in the locker room. I mean, few Mexican players in any generation could really provide it. Just knowing that experience that he's had as well, I think it's not exactly. It doesn't say a bad thing about leadership for Mexico. I think you have someone like Guardado who could do an excellent job as Mexico's captain. But I think it's much more than just having someone who would be the captain for Mexico. I think it's just once again just what Rafa represents and just having there as a presence. Because once again, he's a living legend. He is 100% living legend when it comes to Mexican soccer. So I think it's much more than just leadership. It's just having his presence there alone.
Rafa or Hugo Sanchez who's the top Mexican player? Really quick, make a good debate, Adriana.
Club wise or national team wise?
You didn't have to ask that question.
That's what I was gonna
ask. And that's where it always goes to.
Well, it's different.
It always goes to national.
Yeah, it always goes to
nothing. I mean, let's
exactly.
Really didn't do anything. But Rafa, it did wonders for the national team, scoring in the World Cups that he had. So talent-wise, I think player for player, obviously Hugo Sanchez, what he did, Penta Pichichi, and I don't think anyone's going to match that anytime soon. It doesn't matter if they're Mexicans or not, so I have to give to Hugo Sanchez. But who was there for El Tri? I'm going to have to go with Rafa Marquez. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah. No,
I'll agree on that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not going to disagree with that one. Yeah.
All right. Well, we were talking a little bit about Osorio. Let me sneak this one in there. Osorio obviously saying that if Rafa is playing well, which I haven't seen Rafa play well in a long time. When was the last time you saw Rafa? Oh, Rafa had an amazing game, or Rafa had a good game.
He scored that goal against the United States. Was that last week? Yesterday? When was that?
I'm just saying, when's the last time he had a great game? I think that was it.
I mean, he's had some all right performances in Liga MX, but I think for the most part he's still a liability. But I think he's had his moments here and there. It hasn't been consistent, but it's been there this season.
Okay, all right. Switching it to what Juan Carlos Osorio obviously said some things about Rafa, and of course, in Mexico, when the coach says anything polemic, right? Us in the press, our culture just loves to magnify to see what he's saying. But a report kind of came out today, earlier in the afternoon, regarding Osorio talking about super athletes. And it's kind of developing where I think he was in a panel in Colombia regarding Latin American sports or something like that, where he was asked a question. I'm not sure what the question was, but his answer is definitely documented. And he kind of sparked a little bit of a controversy in what he said. Let me give you with a quote. He says, now I have to translate it because I had it right here. Here we go. What I want to do is I want to, make sure that my players know, right, that we might not have a team that's super strong full of super athletes for various cultural reasons. And it kind of just go, okay, kind of telling your team. And I think where he was going towards, like, hey, the best team, the best player doesn't normally win. It's mostly, the team that plays the best is going to win those games. But kind of came out a little strong with the Mexico doesn't have super athletes. And then he followed up with, which I'm okay with saying Mexico doesn't have super athletes. We look at Olympics. We look at over the world. It's not like Mexico's killing it in all different sports, right? It could be many different things why we don't have, the medals that other countries have that are smaller, or the disciplines. And it could be so many infrastructure problems that I see there. But then he said something else afterward that kind of did get me a little bit like, why would you say that? He said, in Mexico, there aren't any of those athletes like there are here in Colombia. And Cesar, you and I kind of were going back and forth. Gets me just a little confused because I went back to check to see if these super athletes in Colombia, where they're at, and they barely have around 20 gold medals count. Mexico's in the 70s or 60s, and Colombia is not known for super athletes. So I'm kind of confused. I think he's going to probably clarify where he was coming from. People are maybe talking about, obviously, the race, right? You have more of the black race coming out in Colombia, but I don't see that being super athletes like people have talked about. So I want to get you guys'
I think
thoughts.
The more I think about it, the more I'm just confused by it. And I'm just not entirely sure just what he was getting at. Maybe it was a kind of thing that, I know he's a very methodical, kind of like very detailed person. Maybe he saw some source. I don't know if it's something to do nutritional wise. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think like, man, am I going to say something offensive too? Am I going to say something that's like, I don't think he meant to be offensive. I think he might have, maybe he saw some sort of study. Maybe once again, it was a nutritional thing. But the more I think about it, the more I'm really confused by his statement. And I'm still not entirely sure what he meant, that there's a lack of super athletes in Mexico. Like, like once again, I mean, when you look at the Olympics, clearly there's super athletes. Like,
and I think that's where it kind of goes to where I was okay with, yeah, you're right. I've had this conversation with people before. You're not going to find the 6'7", super fast athletes like you find in the United States. You're not going to find those type of athletes because of our race, right? And I've had those conversations before, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, knowing that, well, we're on the lower end of the height, maybe the strength. You're going to have some anomalies, of course. But at the same time, comparing it to Colombia has kind of got me. Adriana, what do you think of all this?
I'm trying to make sense of it because I don't really understand why he would get into this kind of conversation like a couple days, just like a few weeks before the World Cup. Why would you like have this conversation that's going to get all these negative comments against the team and yourself and just have this extra pressure? I'm trying to think that maybe he messed up the way he delivered the answer and was thinking more of a, maybe individually we're not like super athletes, but together as a team, maybe we could do something better. I have no idea, but I'm trying to make sense of something like that. Cause you say he's really analytical and he tries to make sense of all these questions. And he has been really forward in saying that Liga MX is not the best league. And it's probably given a lot more credit than it actually deserves, and those sort of things. But just trying to think about the first part, maybe he just meant we don't have super athletes, but that doesn't mean we couldn't have a good team, maybe. But then just comparing it to Colombia was just totally unnecessary. I think he just like what we say in Mexico, he just shot himself in the foot. So I have no idea why he said that.
I remember, gosh, what? There was an assistant coach or a coach that said something like Mexican athletes don't eat right or something like that a while back.
Just to say something like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It's weird.
I was like, and Mexico went crazy. What are you talking about? We have the best food in the world. And I mean, even though it's probably right, like we don't eat the healthiest, right, because of our food. But to say that, and then obviously in the quote is like, I don't want this to kind of come out because, and of course it came out. He's saying it in a public place. He did end up in the same question. He did say, we don't have a player that's in the top 4 leagues at the moment. And I guess that's where maybe he was going through, where you have that. But the whole super athletes, I think he's going to come out and apologize and say, this is what I meant to say. I think the worst thing you can do is just kind of like, well, I don't want to talk about it because it'll I think it'll hurt him. But nevertheless,
Marco Medina, really quickly, Marco Medina in the chat, just to kind of restate what we've been talking about a little bit there. He said one could interpret him talking about the sports mentality, since the mentality in Mexico is different, but he totally said it wrong, which once again, like we talked about, I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he was going for. but then he said what he said, and then it came off as like a little, I'm not gonna say like, I don't know if racist is the word, but it just came off completely wrong. It just came out completely wrong. Maybe he was trying to do something entirely different here.
Yeah, I honestly think it definitely came out. Now, we're giving him the benefit of the doubt. It's already lost in Mexico. It's already been an insult saying that Mexico doesn't have, super athletes in that sense. But again, it's funny how this goes around. And I share with that, Marco, you do say that there is a mentality out there. I think Hugo tried to take that mentality where, you have to think yourself as a winner, thinking you can win the whole thing. And we have this mentality of, we're always, taking each other down. I feel that's almost in every type of culture. The fact that he said culture kind of irks me. So Juan Carlos Osorio, I would say, explain yourself. I think it came out wrong, and hopefully this doesn't end up like, another here's a foreign coach just using us for the next step. I really do feel like Osorio has taken our team and our culture, and he's always said great things about Mexico. So yeah, interesting enough. All right. There's a great discussion on the chat. If you're not joining us here on YouTube, definitely do so. Yes. I was playing PUBG and I threw my headset and therefore it cracked. So
wait, what is PUBG?
Cesar, you got to get on this
PUBG?
Xbox.
What is that?
Someone tell Cesar what it is.
Is that like a Fortnite thing? I haven't downloaded Fortnite yet.
It's like Fortnite. Yeah, everyone's talking about Fortnite.
I play too much FIFA already. I
was already almost the first, and I just grabbed it and I threw my head. Bro, if you play those types of games, you know how crazy it can get. All right, so yes, we'll do that.
The last computer game I played was probably like SimCity or something, so I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
No, it wasn't a computer. It was just I downloaded over, I think, winter break, and this is why I actually been gone for the last 3 weeks. I was just playing video games. No. All right, let's go ahead and continue with our all our Mexican soccer talk. All right, so let's talk about Liga MX weekend. The recap: America 3-1 loss to Puebla. What was the biggest shock this weekend, guys? Something that you kind of looked at and were, whoa, what? That happened? Or is there not even any shock anymore because Liga MX? What do you guys got?
Probably Cruz Azul. I'm guessing maybe Cruz Azul. It was a weird weekend, though.
Yeah.
I'm guessing we all thought Lobos would die eventually, even though we kind of liked the team, or at least I did. But probably Cruz Azul, just seeing the way, it's just so frustrating to see. If they had played this well this season or the last, I mean, we would have been talking about Cruz Azul being like in the finals, no doubt about it. It was just a really great way to play, gave their fans what they expected in their last game at the Azul Stadium.
Yeah.
So I was really happy about that. I was surprised, maybe not the results, but the way they got it, I thought was really, really nice.
Yeah, they hit the post 3 times before scoring their first goal in the 11th minute. It was just a completely different Cruz Azul side. I did not recognize that Cruz Azul team. But I think, so you brought up that for me, I mean, if we're talking about the most surprising result, I guess it would be that loss for America to Puebla. I mean, things are looking a little worrisome for America. And I think you can also say, to an extent, a little bit for Tigres, too. I mean, clearly they have their spot guaranteed in the playoffs. But both sides in the last 3 games, they have 2 draws and a loss. So it's not exactly the best thing for either side, especially when, I mean, we've talked about a lot beforehand, but I think momentum heading into the playoffs is so crucial. And it's really, really important to get those wins, regardless of whether you've guaranteed yourself a spot or not in the playoffs, but at least have a little bit of momentum, a little bit of confidence heading into the Liga. Because once you're in there, even if you're the number 8 seed, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise if you upset the number one seed in the playoffs. That's just the Liga MX playoffs. So I do think that's a little worrisome for America. And the attack has looked a little off for America too. I don't know what's going on there in the attack, but yeah, no, they're struggling in recent weeks.
We've seen America kind of do this towards, I think, last season, where they start out great. It's a great team to have, and all of a sudden they come out flat right before the Liguilla. I mean, last time America won, if I'm not mistaken, is against Cruz Azul on that, and I think before that was a Champions League match. So interesting enough, obviously Puebla tied against Monterrey. We can include the tie against Toronto, tie against Necaxa, tie against Toronto again. So I have not seen this Piojo Herrera hand that I wanted to see towards it. I mean, he'd had enough time with the teams, and if I'm an America fan, which I'm not, but if I say I am, I'm wanting to see this team already. Getting ready for Liguilla.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of I think there are just high expectations to begin with America. That's just always been the case. There are always high expectations for the team. So I would imagine that a lot of fans are a little bothered right now, especially since, I mean, a good excuse the team could be using is if they're involved in the CCL final, but that's not the case. I mean, that's so I think that I still think that they're one of the title favorites. I will say that, regardless of what happens this upcoming weekend. But either way, it's still worrisome for America.
I think so too. I think the attack probably is what worries fans the most, because you have Oribe Peralta coming to the World Cup. Even Piojo Herrera said he was distracted about his call-up for the World Cup in a couple of weeks. And then you have Henry Martin, who started off with 5 goals. He was really getting into America, and we were all really surprised to see him do that well in such short notice. And then you had Jeremy Menez, who has been out of sideline for an injury. So I think that the attack is probably what America has lacked the most these last couple of weeks.
Yeah, 100%.
Another team that, I mean, it looks like I had like a little break is that we've seen across this, Santos kind of coming, also not ending it so well in a loss against Pumas that we saw there. I think loss against Pachuca for that. But another big news is goodbye Lobos Buap. Okay,
we all kind of expect that.
You feel bad, right? But
I mean, I think most Liga MX fans were hoping that Veracruz would go down,
right,
and not Lobos Buap. But I think that, I mean, we've talked about it, that just that it was
likes that team.
I think it was refreshing to see someone like Lobos Buap, as opposed to really sitting back, as opposed to going with a kind of style play like Necaxa when they first got promoted. Just sit back, kind of frustrate opponents, foul, just stay really organized, be very defensive. It's not the most exciting way of playing. And with Lobos Buap, you saw this really exciting style where you had like a 3-man back line. They pushed forward. It was fun. It was exciting. I think it was brave for Lobos Buap to do that. But of course, I mean, they're the worst team this season. I mean, that's undeniable. I mean, you look at the league table; it's clear that they've been struggling, and you really feel bad for that. You really feel bad for the fans. And of course, when it was so questionable that when they fired Rafa Puente Jr., I don't know why they did that when they did that. I don't know why they didn't wait until the end of the season. So it's unfortunate to see them go. But it was nice to see them actually take risks going forward, and like I said, playing with that 3-man back line and throwing those numbers forward. But unfortunately, we won't be seeing them next season.
I'm really sad, actually. I really like it when a team comes through and it's a really attractive team, like Cesar was saying. Usually see these teams like Atlante, who usually does well in Liga MX, and have these really nice, really like powerful players, and they're making a really good team, and then they just sell them to another team and they like condemn themselves. So then I really like what Lobos was doing. I really disagree with the way Veracruz has been handling the team the last couple of seasons. So if they had been like relegated this season, it would have been like, yeah, you asked for it. You had a terrible team. You had 40 players registered a year ago in Liga MX. I have no idea what you're thinking. So just seeing someone as attractive as Lobos in the Liga MX would have been nice, though.
2 wins, Adriana. 2 wins. But that's one less than Chivas, so
that's what happened because of that style of play that they had. Obviously, they were pretty poor defensively, and they really pushed forward. So they were, once again, they allow themselves to be, taken advantage of when it came to like attacking pressure from other teams. So of course that was a risk that they were taking. But once again, just from a Liga MX fan perspective, once again, like Adriana said, it was entertaining to watch them play, regardless of whether they won or lost. It was really refreshing to see their style of play.
Except the howl, the wolf howl at the stadium every 2 minutes. I actually counted it once.
Wait, how many?
I think I saw a tweet that you did that. It was kind of like, what's worse, La Máquinas?
The train.
Right? Yeah, that's annoying.
Yeah, I actually counted like 10 minutes in a Lobos match, and I think it was like 13 times it howled in 10 minutes. It was just crazy.
Oh
yeah, that's the only thing I'm probably not gonna miss. And I'm hoping that the train somehow loses its way to the Azteca Stadium now that Cruz Azul is going there as well.
Yeah, yes, Cruz Azul no more in the Estadio Azul. No, that train's gonna be there. Pita maquinita. My dad is a big Cruz Azul fan, so. So let's look at the league table, and we got quite the weekend. Amy was nice enough to get a little summary for us, which obviously Toluca, Santos, Monterrey, Tigres, and Club America are all in, right? There's no chance for them to
top five are through.
Top five are through. So then you got the other three. It starts out with Pumas with 23 points, Morelia with 23 points. That's another team like Morelia, Veracruz. I feel like those are the teams no one cares about. And I feel probably León is in there too, but just because I like them. Tijuana with 22 points. So those are the teams that are in already. But right below, you have 5 teams that have an opportunity. I really thought León didn't have an opportunity until I see Amy's rundown here. But
so you're telling me there's a chance.
There's a chance. And I've been there. I have been there a few seasons ago when it's like the 14th team or 13th team. Pachuca with 22 points, same as Tijuana. Necaxa, 1 point below, 21 points. Puebla, 20 points. Cruz Azul still has a chance with 19 points. And León with 19 points. So, big question of the night. Who goes through for you guys?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, I mean, of course, a big thing that you have to look at is goal differential, because more than likely, I'm not going to say more than likely, it's going to happen. Teams are going to be tied in points. And of course, the first tiebreaker is that goal differential. So I think teams like Pumas, teams like Tijuana, Pachuca, and Necaxa, I would add Cruz Azul in there, but they only have 19 points. So I think, yeah, once again, Pumas, they have a 0 goal differential. Tijuana +5, Pachuca +2, Necaxa +6. I think that's going to really help them in that advantage, because once again, I think more than likely some teams are going to end up being equal on points. I think with that recent win for Pumas, I think that's going to help them a lot. They're going against a Querétaro side, which really has nothing to fight for. So I think Pumas are going to go through. Morelia, that's tough. They're going to be taking on Necaxa's side, which are still trying to push for the playoffs. Necaxa do very well defensively, so I think they'll get a draw there. I think very well at home, so I think they're going to get a win over Toluca. And I think Pachuca, I mean, they're going to be taking on an Atlas side, which has been almost as awful as Lobos WAP. So I think I think Pachuca are also going to get a win. So I think it's going to come down to those 4 teams, either Pumas, Morelia, Xolos, Pachuca. And I think that, I don't know, maybe Tijuana just narrowly surpassed Morelia. Morelia is just going to barely miss out in the playoffs. So I think, yeah, Pumas, Xolos, and Pachuca. I think those are the teams that go through.
I think Pumas, Morelia, and Pachuca. I don't think Tijuana will beat Toluca, so I think they're going to lose some points around there, and Pachuca will just take advantage of that.
I think either way,
so, yeah, I think Xolos will be out. Yeah.
I think Pumas, though. I think that's after their win last week. I would say from all the teams still in the running, I would say Pumas are definitely. I guess you could say Pumas and Pachuca. Maybe for me, Pumas and Pachuca, those are the 2 favorites to go through, and then after that, it's a little up in the air.
Coin toss.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to you guys were saying. I was trying to figure out if León can make it or not. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think they have to win against Chivas, and they have to. They're -11, and Pachuca's +2.
They have to.
They have to score 12 goals.
The funny thing is, even if León were to win 12-0 this weekend, there's a chance they would still miss out in the playoffs.
Come on, Boselli. All right.
Although I did see someone in the chat, Angel says León sneaks in, Donovan, Liga, MVP.
Donovan scores 11 goals and goes crazy.
Donovan scores 17 goals, finishes as the leading goal scorer of the regular season. León misses out in the playoffs.
That'd be the worst thing that could ever happen. All right. Toluca. You would have told me week 6, week 7 that Toluca was the front runner, having won the last 5 matches, because we saw the Santos, Monterrey, Tigres, America. Heck, even Pumas was up and running. But Toluca coming back. You see that strong Toluca from the 2010. Who's your front runner to win the whole thing right now?
It just might be Toluca, I think.
Yeah.
Strong defense, really good offense. No injuries, nothing to worry about really. They did have some problems with Cristante being sent off a couple of games, I think. But other than that, they've been quite consistent.
Cristante, the Argentine Piojo.
Yeah. Yeah, because you see Santos, and they're not in their best position right now.
Yeah.
America is doing terribly, and somehow Monterrey and Tigres, which we all thought would be probably the front runners again, they just haven't been as powerful, probably like with their attack, which is what I think we remember them mostly by. They haven't been that consistent this season. I think Monterrey's best goal scorer right now is still Arturo Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Maybe Avilés now, I think. I'm not really sure.
I still think that Tigres are gonna be the title favorites. I mean, I think it's not out of the ordinary to see Gignac step up in the playoffs. I know last season,
Mr. Liguilla.
I know although last season he wasn't exactly at his best in Liga, but I do think that traditionally, I guess in his short time here in Mexico, he does actually do quite well in the Liga and steps up, because I feel like that's a conversation people have had for a while about Gignac. It's like, oh, does it look like he's going a little quiet during the regular season, and then once the playoffs roll around, then he really steps up? And he's actually had a decent regular season this year, so maybe it'll be switched. Maybe he'll be terrible in the playoffs. But I do think, once again, you just can't ignore that roster. You can't ignore someone like Ferretti, someone like Tuca, who's just going to do quite well with the management of each playoff game. So I don't know. I still think that the Luka, of course, they're going to be the number one seed, so of course they're going to be a strong candidate. But I'm still going to say Tigres are going to win it all.
All right. Interesting to see that Arturo Alfonso is the Mexican with the most goals in Liga MX.
Is he really?
Yeah, I think he has 5, doesn't he?
Yeah, 6 or 5. Yeah, we're looking at. Is this the same Arturo Alfonso that was in 2011 with? Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
right?
it's Ponchito.
It's Pochito. Yeah, it's Pochito. Yeah.
I was like, hold on a second. Yeah, Ponchito. Wow.
Yeah, he's doing.
You know how Chofis now is Eduardo Lopez? Yeah, this is the same Ponchito. We were just trying to like give him some credit, and now he's Arturo.
Got it. Because I looked at the stats. I'm like, dude, I can't remember this. Yeah, he also.
As the same guy. Yeah, he's doing pretty well with I think people have been wondering when that breakout season would be for Ponchito. We've been wondering that for quite some time. And I'm not going to say that this is his breakout season, but I think it's probably his best season he's had so far. And especially when you could do that with a roster like Monterrey. I mean, I talked about how big this roster is. I mean, Monterrey's roster is also packed. So for him to be able to find minutes and to do quite well this season, I think you got to give him credit. I don't know. Once again, it's a breakout season that we eventually thought he was going to have, but I mean, he's definitely having a good season.
I'm just worried that he's our best goal scorer in the Liga MX, national goal scorer in the Liga MX. It's not Oribe, it's not Henry Martin even, it's Arturo Gonzalez, who doesn't even have a chance with the national team. So this is just, it's just another thing to worry about.
Because Chucky's in the Eredivisie, that's why. He just went over there recently. Chucky was over here, he'd have at least 45
Nothing
goals.
To worry about.
Maybe 46. 47? No, let's stick with 46.
That was just kind of surprising to me. I'm like, I definitely remember that. I think he came out of Atlas, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yep. All right. Let's. So we talked a little about Liga MX. We'll pivot to CONCACAF Champions League. Sorry, guys, we did not have a show last week. Everybody was out and about. I was returning from vacation. Adriana was vacationing.
I think I was the only one who was free. I wasn't going to record. We considered just me having a cooking show for about an hour.
That'd be kind of cool.
Just like me by myself.
I still think that would have been a good idea.
I'm down. I'm down anytime that happens. Cesar's delights. Coming in, Toronto versus Chivas. Toronto having the spectacular CONCACAF season. Some people are saying it's the greatest MLS team ever. Cesar, I don't watch a lot of MLS.
Yeah. Oh, I know. We've had this conversation.
I'm just saying. I think I watched more MLS this season than I've ever had. No, you know what? I was like strong watching the Chicago Fire during. In fact, I actually went to a game.
Oh, really?
To Demo's Chicago Fire. I think it was New England Revolution, the playoffs. I was there. But is this the best MLS team it's ever had? I mean,
that's a conversation that people have had for, I guess, since last season, you would say. I'm not that surprised, but I mean, you look at what they did against Tigres. Look at a player like Giovinco. Look at someone like Josie. Look at someone like Michael Bradley. And I will say, even though Chivas ended up getting the win, I will say that, I mean, there are a couple combinations between Josie and Giovinco, which were just beautiful in that home leg for them. The CCL final. I think they were a little unlucky to not get another goal there. But of course, Chivas took advantage of their opportunities and ended up getting the win there. But yeah, I do think that I mean, once again, I do watch some Major League Soccer, not as much as some experts out there, but that is a conversation that has been happening for, yeah, like I said, for several months now, is that they are one of the, if not the greatest, one of the greatest MLS sides ever in the league.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because, you know, what they've done. I did tweet out, I think, last week saying, you know, I felt like Mexican teams were already said, we're going against MLS teams. We got this win. And Tigres, and I think America took it for granted playing against a great Toronto. He's got great players. I mean, Michael Bradley, Josie Altidore, and Giovinco, as you mentioned. But I felt like it was kind of I think Chivas coming in and going to Toronto, I think they expected a really hard game. And I like when Mexico teams I felt like they're underdogs, you know, and I'm not saying that. I saw that through the players, giving them all, even though I think Toronto had a better second half. You know, don't take these teams for granted, because look at what can happen. Supposedly Tigres is one of the best teams we've had in a very long time, and with Tuca and also America and what they've had. So I'm not surprised Chivas got the win out there, but at the same time, I'm not counting, you know, this win for Chivas already. In Toronto could in and score a few, and the fans in Mexico might turn on, you know, Chivas, and it went from almost a good thing for Chivas and Almeida to a disaster. Adriana, what's your thoughts?
I think that's precisely what Almeida should probably be telling his players, not to be overconfident, not to think that because they have the 2-1 advantage and playing at home the second leg that they're probably going to have the game all set up to win. I think that Toronto has shown that has really what it takes to come to Guadalajara and just take the win and surprise everybody and make history as an MLS team in the Club World Cup. However, I do think that Chivas showed the personality that's necessary to stop all those individualities that you just mentioned with players that are really great in Toronto.
Awesome. What do you guys see as far as what happens? Chivas takes it. Another trophy for Almeida?
I think so, but I think it's going to be really, really tight.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be like a 1-0 win.
And both sides are clearly resting their players. I mean, you looked at that Clásico Tapatio last week. Clearly, Chivas are resting a lot of their options. Same thing with Toronto. And you look at their league form, it's clear that they're prioritizing this. But yeah, I think that Giovinco and Josie aren't going to want to waste the opportunities that they had last week, because once again, I think that they had some beautiful combinations going forward there, and they're going to make things difficult because, I mean, once again, this Chivas backline hasn't exactly been the best. I think that this Chivas side and the CCL is an entirely different side for obvious reasons, which are very clear from the one that we've seen in Liga MX. But I'm still a little worried about, say, someone like if Salcido were to get to start, how he could play. I think Mayorga wasn't exactly at his best either, so I'm worried once again for this Chivas side, because I think the series is very, very far from over. I think that if it was a draw in the first leg, or maybe if it were to be a 0-0, 1-1, 2-2, I would say that Toronto would be the favorite going into this second leg. But I think with the 1-goal advantage, I do think that Chivas are going to sneak by, but it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. But it's probably going to be probably a very exciting final.
Yeah, definitely a very exciting final.
And Almeida gets back some players. You have Cota back, you have Jair Pereira back, and you have Edwin Hernandez, which will be really important. So hopefully that'll also be a big advantage for Chivas in the home game.
True. Yeah.
Yep. Just our friend Cari Torres say the exact same thing. Yeah, we'll set more with Cota and Jair. We'll be back. Also, apparently Toronto is taking this game very seriously, resting some players. I think they're not in the greatest position in their conference. If I look at where they're at, it says Toronto also seemed focused on this match. Sitting in last place in the Eastern Conference for MLS. First team didn't travel to either Houston or Colorado.
Yeah, I mean, but also, I mean, they've only played 5 matches so far, while other MLS teams have played around 6, 7. A few have played 8 games. But obviously, once again, they're prioritizing the CCL, as are Chivas. So it is kind of interesting that this is the battle of a Mexican giant and a Canadian giant, and then you look at their league form, you're like, wow, these guys are struggling in regular season.
And the way that they are. And I guess that's what you got to do. You focus.
Yeah, it's not surprising. It's not surprising.
Not surprising at all. All right, well, tell us here on the chat, on the YouTube chat, if you're not on it, run to it. Give us your prediction. We'll read it in a minute. So all of you guys are on right now. What is going to be the score for the game, Toronto versus Chivas, will Chivas win another? Well, Almeida, and I'll say it Almeida because it'd be interesting. If Chivas loses this, hot seats on Almeida. To continue, you see, with the season that he had.
Yeah, I mean he's been there for for a Liga MX coach, he's been there for quite some time, which is so strange to say that when you just look at just how short times some of these Liga MX coaches have. But I do think that maybe there's something even bigger out there for Almeida. As weird as that sounds, I think it sounds like he's the kind of manager who would hopefully want to try out something in Europe. I think he has a capability of doing something like that. Of course, people talk about the Mexican national team too. Maybe he could potentially, coach on 3 at some point. I'm not saying it's going to happen after the summer, but I think he's a name that's, sometimes in conversation. But yeah, I do think at least for this season, I mean, especially after what's happened, I guess we can say what's happened in the last several months since they won the title last year. I mean, he really needs something, and I do think that he's going to have a very good opportunity here to win a much needed title.
All right. I like it. So prediction: Chivas wins. I think I'm with both of you. It's going to be extremely, extremely hard. It reminds me of that. I kind of want to see that Pachuca. If you remember, Pachuca versus LA Galaxy final a long time ago. Went to penalty kicks, and that's the type of a game I want to see. Get that interesting in that sense. So we'll see how it goes. But I have Chivas also winning, of course.
And let's see also, we've seen all this team being slightly distracted with the fact that they haven't been paid everything they were promised last year.
Yeah.
And I'm just getting some information. Apparently, the players they had practice today with their shirts inside out. So you know what that means. So yeah, let's see how that goes. So the team has been quite united as well. So yeah, kudos for doing that. But still, just seeing how that can impact the team a bit.
So the laundry department hasn't been paid also, so that's why there's inside out.
Dirty shirts, yeah.
Dirty shirts. Got it. I got it. We gotta protest. Hey, that's how things move around here. You want to make sure. I still can understand a team like Chivas is not paying their players.
On the chat, Robert Cordova has said the Arsenal job is open. So there you go, Almeida. That's a natural progression, right? Vivas, then you go up to Arsenal.
Yeah, there you go. Carlos Vela did it. All right. Let's jump into a little quick plug. Patreon, as you're seeing, this cool shirt. I already saw somebody say it is an amazing shirt. It's great cotton too. It's such a nice shirt. Like there are shirts that you buy and you're just like, you don't want to wear them. It like scratches you. I really like this.
You know what? I thought when we first sent out the T-shirts, we got to give a shout out to Jason for doing this because I thought I wouldn't be surprised if we were to send one out that isn't that good quality. But Jason actually chose like a really good quality shirt. Yeah. I was gonna wear it in public, but now I am. Now I'm actually obviously not today, but I'll wear it in the next pod.
Yeah. I think Amy, our awesome producer that's doing the show right now and live tweeting. She took it to the FIFA trophy tour in LA. So I think she's the first one out in public. So how do you get this? Cesar, tell us a little bit about how you can get this shirt.
So of course, patreon.com/the Mexican Soccer Show. You see all the different levels that you can sign up for what you can get from the Patreon podcast. For example, every week we have the Countdown to Russia podcast. That is on Thursdays, and actually last week for all of our listeners, we provided you with 3. It was a very busy week for me. We provided you with 3 podcasts. Yeah, which you could still listen to. So we had someone who was an expert on Swedish soccer telling us about the Swedish national team. We had someone who's a German expert telling us about the German national team, and then someone who's telling us about the South Korean national team as well. Obviously, that's all for looking forward to the World Cup. You also get little extras every now and then. Tom will put up some interviews. I've put up some interviews that I've had. Sometimes, even before I've released an article, I'll release those interviews up on the Patreon page. So once again, and you can get a free T-shirt. So once again, patreon.com/the Mexican Soccer Show. And many, many thanks to everyone who have already patrons of the show. It is much appreciated. And hopefully you already have your T-shirt. Let us know if you haven't gotten your T-shirt yet, depending on the level that you're at.
Tweet us your T-shirt if you already got it. We sent out a lot of shirts already. So the coolest shirts, I don't know, maybe we can get something for the person with the coolest picture with the shirt. So we'll make sure coolest picture with the shirt. We'll figure out what that is. But
they put sunglasses on the shirt.
I don't know, it's like that's a really cool picture. I don't know. If you can get this like at a Trump rally or something,
Oh my god.
That would be awesome. I'll give you kudos for that. All right. Let's see. Mexicans abroad. We're going around in the roundup of Mexicans abroad. Feels like we have a great week, then it's a crappy week, then a great week, then it's a crappy. It's not like anything in the middle. Chucky wins the league with PSV. Awesome to see what he's doing there as being the winner. But as far as Mexicans abroad, for you guys, what do you think this weekend? We saw some people score. What's going on?
I think that we haven't had a chance to talk about the Mexicans abroad since a couple of weeks, since we didn't have the podcast last week. But I think it's a good time right now for the Mexicans abroad, because sometimes, like you mentioned, so it is a little inconsistent. Sometimes it'll be really quiet. Sometimes we'll have something exciting to talk about. But no, I think that, of course, the big news, of course, it was over the weekend. It was semi-recently, though, was Chucky winning the league title. He immediately had an impact with PSV in the Eredivisie. He's got 16 goals and 8 assists. He's only 22 years old. That's the exact kind of thing that we wanted to see from Chucky. So that was, just really exciting. It's clear that he's ready for the next step. And then, of course, you got to talk about Real Betis' form with Guardado there. Guardado had a little bit of an injury, so he did take part in the recent match. But, this is a Betis side which is pushing currently in the Europa League spot. So that's promising for Guardado. Guardado has been, it's not like I know he didn't take part in the game over the weekend, but Guardado has been really crucial to this team, and typically in more of an attack-minded center midfield role. He's provided, I think, 7 assists. I think he's leading the team so far this season in assists. And he provides, if I remember the last time I looked, he's providing he's averaging 50-something passes per game. So it's clear the influence that he's having in the side, and hopefully they can secure that Europa League spot, because that'd be pretty cool if Guardado was to stick around.
Let's
do
Champions League.
No, it's not the Champions League.
Let's do it.
But it's so exciting.
Let's do Champions. Let's see. You're in fifth spot. Let's keep going up and see if you're able to get that. No, it's awesome to see about Guardado, especially coming in with a World Cup year, having such influence there. And obviously we saw the injury there, but he can come back. But great to see that. 5th in the table, 5 clean sheets in a row. Let me talk a little about MLS, Adriana. We have, obviously, Carlos Vela, 5 goals this season with LAFC, really having a lot of fun. Just scoring, playing, impact. It looks like he's, just doing what he needs to be doing, and nobody's surprised.
He's doing what he wanted to do when he decided to go to the MLS. He's having fun. He's playing at the level that we know he has, probably not being asked too much with the MLS level. I think he could have stayed in Europe easily. But still, I think we wouldn't ask less of him, just knowing the talent that he has. So actually, his first home game is coming up this weekend, so let's see how that goes. I think they have a really good team. I'm just a bit worried maybe regarding the other Los Angeles team with the Dos Santos brothers. You had Giovanni come in as a sub this weekend, and that same day, Jonathan Dos Santos was sidelined due to an injury just minutes before the game started. So, yeah, this is the time when we all start worrying about all the activity some players could have and the injuries that they could pick up just weeks before the World Cup.
Definitely. Good to see Gio back, but then all of a sudden Jonathan is out and what he's doing in there. I think we saw Mr. Cesar. Can you hear us now?
Yeah, sorry about that. That was weird. I don't know what's going on there, but I can hear you guys now.
Okay, good. Carlos Vela to you, Cesar, doing what he needs to be doing. No complaints.
Yeah. 5 goals, 2 assists so far this season. I think that obviously it wasn't the most ideal move for Vela to take a step down in Major League Soccer. But if you are going to play Major League Soccer, play at this level. He's doing everything he really can be doing. I think he's thriving, especially when you compare it to the Dos Santos brothers. I know those Santos brothers have had some injury issues, which has really hurt them trying to have an impact on the team. But man, Vela's doing extremely well, and especially when you consider that this is a new team as well. It's not like it's not like the team he joined has had a time to work together and to really find some cohesion. Yeah. No, this is everyone's. I think he said I remember some interview with ESPN. I think back in January, he said it was like the first day in school where everyone's getting to know each other. Everyone's it's kind of exciting. So it is interesting to hear that. But yeah, no, I think especially when you consider someone like Tecatito. I know Tecatito scored earlier today for Porto, but Tecatito hasn't been at his best for
obvious personal reasons. But I do think that if Mexico really needs someone on that wing, then you start Vela. And then if Tecatito really steps up, then maybe you can have Vela as more of a center attacking midfielder, number 10 from Mexico. So I think Vela's proven that he's still a key player for El Tri, and I think as long as he's just killing it in Major League Soccer, I think that's all you could really ask from him right now.
Yeah, do you see him as a start at the World Cup? I think so.
Yeah, I think so. He's a starter for me.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And I think that's where it just shows you where, I mean, he probably could be our best player right now up front.
Yeah.
And
yeah, potentially, yeah.
So he's doing what he needs to be doing. He's playing, he's winning. I mean, he's scoring and just having a lot of fun out there. And as you guys mentioned, the Dos Santos brother, the Dos Santos curse, man. I feel like they're both gonna go. We need him to be healthy, and if not, then you're out. Like both of them.
Well, just Carlos Salcedo just traveled today back to Germany, so that's probably good news for everybody. Just trying to make him stay in shape and just be in the best possible condition prior to the World Cup. Marco Fabian, he's doing pretty well regarding the injury he just had. That was a long time he was away from any activity. So just trying to keep all those guys healthy and trying to keep them also with as much activity as possible without risking them too much.
Is there anybody we have? It's 50 some days to the World Cup, if I'm not mistaken. No serious injuries aside from Nestor Araujo, who's recovering well, as we've seen. But knock on wood, usually this is the time when we start seeing those players fall off in that sense. So hopefully everyone can be recovered and ready to go.
Yeah, I think the only words were just Salcedo and Araujo, but it looks like they're recovering. So yeah, and it looks like Fabian looks like he's back to full health. So just fingers crossed that just
we'll see that.
Nothing. It's not like another Claudio Suarez incident, injured right before the World Cup.
Actually, Tom was telling us earlier that he saw Araujo back in practice on Friday, so he's slowly getting back into some activity, and hopefully maybe he'll make it to the semifinals if Santos makes it that far.
Nice.
Yeah, no. Awesome. Let's see. Let's check out. I see him. Thank you, Kim Tate, for the Santos awesome videos that she sends us for the English media. And yeah, I see Nestor Araujo already on the field. Picture of him on there. So shout out to the awesome Santos English media who keeps us informed about that, all in English too. So wish more of the clubs did that. Okay, Chicharito.
Yeah.
Not terrible. Having
just says enough.
I mean, we could be like horrible situation he's in, blah blah blah. But
I think we can all predict what's going to happen for the rest of the season for Chicharito. Okay, so West Ham's barely going to avoid relegation. Chicharito's maybe going to get one start. If not, he's going to come off the bench a few times, and then maybe he's going to get one more goal. And then we're all going to be a little disappointed, but then it's going to be all right because then he's going to score 17 goals at the World Cup, and then Mexico is going to win the title, and it's going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. And then we'll be here talking about how incredible Mexico is.
And all will be forgotten.
And all will be forgotten.
Question for you guys. Do you get a Chicharito Hammer shirt? That is been on my mind for the last 2 weeks. I think they're really cool. I'm afraid as soon as I buy it, he's done, and there it went. I have his Manchester United. I have his Real Madrid.
Not quite sure about the West Ham one, though.
But it looks really cool. I really like the colors. I don't know.
Actually, I think the Spanish media were saying that he's been looked on by, I think it was Espanyol, maybe Real Sociedad. Let me check that out for you. But yeah, there were a couple of teams that were just looking their way and looking at Chicharito. I was like, really? So they want him back at the Liga. I don't know if
Italy
that'll go through this season, though.
Juve. Let's do it. Chicharito and Juve. I feel like he needs to beat all 4 of the major leagues.
San Jose Earthquakes. Wait, who said
that? No. Okay. All right, guys. Great show. Did we miss anything else? Any other? I don't know. I think I heard some kind of article. Adriana, you kind of gave me the your network, ESPN, kind of said something about maybe the friendlies might be in trouble with some kind of some players maybe protesting, maybe not playing what's going on?
Well, it depends on Wednesday's reunion. Last week, the Liga MX, the best players, I guess you could say, or the most representative of Mexican players in the Liga MX, they had a meeting with Liga MX managers, and they just said, hey, we have 2 petitions for you guys. We want, first of all, to end the gentleman's pact, as you may. which means that players could actually sign with new teams despite their old teams having a say in that movement. And then the other condition is they just want to have longer periods of time to sign with new teams, not necessarily only the draft. So those are the two petitions. They're going to meet up with them on Wednesday to see what the club owners had to say. If they agree to these conditions, then we'll have just a regular season games this weekend. And if they don't, they threaten to just stop the games this week, which I really don't think they will.
Yeah, and that's obviously something to keep an eye on. And actually, maybe that's something we should have talked a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, that's huge. The Pacto de Caballeros, the Liga MX draft, because of whenever Liga MX fans or people really start getting into Liga MX, of course, they're drawn in by the high scoring games, by just like the high quality of play. But then, of course, you have to like break their hearts, be like, and they're like, oh, there's a draft. You're like, yeah, let me explain the Liga MX draft to you. Be like, and like, what's the Pacto de Caballeros? Yeah, let me talk about the Pacto de Caballeros, because I think that if the league does want to continue to grow, if the league does want to continue to globalize, it has to get past these things. It really has to
give in. Yeah,
it has to give in.
I think it has to. Yeah. There's no other way of going forward with this. And just seeing like all the players that are doing this, you have Moises Muñoz, Santiago Jimenez, all these Carlos Salcido, who couldn't make the reunion because he was just traveling back with Chivas from Toronto. But you have all these really good players that just really want to make a stand for all the other ones.
Predicament number 2. Should I purchase my flight to LA for the Wales game? Because it might be canceled too. I mean, there's a lot of things I got to think about. Yeah, I'm being selfish. Just like, all right, I need to go to this game. All right, guys. Thank you for that note, Adriana. Interesting stuff, and we'll see. I'm with you.
Wait, really quickly, the Liga MX Femenil final is set. It's going to be a Clásico Regio. Because Liga's got the win against America in the semis. They got a 4-2 aggregate win, and I didn't see the final score for Monterrey over Toluca today because they finished like right when we started recording, in the middle of our recording. But they got the win there. So yeah, it's gonna be Clásico Regio for the Liga MX final. That'll be pretty exciting.
When is the final? Anybody know?
They haven't said yet, but it'll probably be on next Monday and then the Monday after that, because they've been playing on Mondays. I don't know. I think they should play after the Liga MX men's game this Saturday, because the first game would be Tigres as a home game. So you could just play at the Universitario after the men do. So they might just look into that. I would do that.
That'd be a fantastic idea. I would love that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, you have 2 Clásico Regios in a row, men and then the women with the final, and then you just have the next game at the BBVA the following Monday.
I really wish they would do it. Like, for example, I mean, over here, like in, what is it, the Estadio Caliente, the Xolos Femenil, they play on Mondays, which, I don't know, it just doesn't make sense. Like, why not play it after the Xolos match, like the men's game? They did that once before, and it went really well. And I don't understand why, and I'm only talking about one team here, but I don't understand why they don't try playing that game, or for Xolos Femenil, like they don't play right after the men's team. But yeah, well, hopefully, like you said, we'll be seeing it. We could be a little bit more on a high-profile time, more of a time that'll be a little bit easier for people to follow and watch.
Definitely, thank you for those updates. Good to see lots and lots of stories, especially in Mexican soccer. The World Cup is coming up. Please subscribe to our Patreon page. Be a supporter. Get tons of cool stuff helping us out. At the same time, will be another Mexican Soccer Show next Monday. Make sure you subscribe. All of you guys are on the chat. Hopefully you subscribe. And then also on our social media, please help us out with a like, retweet. Still looking for these shirts. If you have one, please tweet it out. It'd be kind of cool to do some retweets on that. All right, guys. Thank you, Adriana. Awesome insights in all that you do. Mr. Cesar Hernandez, of course. Great insights on today. And I am Wiesel from Footmexation. We'll see you guys next Monday, 7 p.m. Pacific, 6 a.m. Moscow time. Talk to you later.
See you guys, bro.
Bye.